Welcome back to another episode of the Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast. We're excited to have you join us today. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank our sponsors who help make this all possible. First off, a great big thank you to our title sponsor again for 2024, the Kubota dealers of South Dakota. Whether it's tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, construction, or farm equipment, Kubota's got you covered. With 9 convenient locations across the state of South Dakota and 1 in northwest Iowa, there's always a Kubota dealer nearby. Stop by your local Kubota dealer and see all they have to offer. All A-Team shows are sponsored this year by Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, home of the Butterburger, fried cheese curds, signature root beer, and world-famous custard. Culver's, welcome to delicious. Next, we would like to recognize the support of our other A-Team podcast sponsors. Cubby Sports Bar and Grill, the best sports bar in South Dakota and home to the Jimmy Rogers Radio Show. Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management, see them for all your retirement and life insurance needs. And the Jackrabbit Former Players Association. And now, here is the A-Team.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the A-Team podcast from Jackrabbit Illustrated. I'm Dallas. I'm going to be playing somewhat the part of the podfather here today. Matt is out, but I got, excuse me, cough. The idea of me trying to be the podfather actually made me choke there a little bit. But yeah. I've got Jake and Chad here. We're going to do our best to fight our way through this. We got this one. Hey, if you have not already, make sure you follow Jackrabbit Illustrated on all the socials, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We even started throwing some reels up there and some TikToks. Make sure you follow us. Also, if you listen to the podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. Greatly appreciated. Give us a rating, helps out and helps us spread the word, helps us kind of spread Jackrabbit knowledge across the country. So with that said, today's episode is always brought to you by Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. Can't appreciate them enough or thank them enough for what they do. Whether you're tackling big projects on the farm, maybe working on some serious landscaping at home or failing at it like I usually do, Kubota's got you covered with heavy-duty equipment and all you need to get the job done right. From tractors to mowers, utility vehicles, loaders, whatever, they've got it all. Hey, there's a trusted network of those Kubota dealers in South Dakota and northwest Iowa. They've got service, support, whatever you need. Check out your local Kubota dealers today. So that said, Chad, how's your week, man? I feel like I haven't talked to you in a bit.
Well, my weekend didn't exactly go as planned. I kind of wanted to try and get down to the old game, but that wasn't in the cards because my computer threw me a code on my car and I ended up having to replace a transmission control module on my car this weekend. So that all went way worse than anticipated, and not fun. So
dude, I tried to replace one headlight bulb on my truck today and failed and quit. So kudos to you for doing what you did.
Yeah, I ended up removing, and so I have a spare transmission with spare parts, and I ended up removing and trying to replace parts from one to the other, and the one that I replaced was actually worse than the one that was on there. So I ended up doing the work about 4 times actually. So that was a weekend. That's all I'm going to say.
That sounds horrible. Jake, I understand you might be a year older. How you doing?
Yeah, no, it's good. It was good. I am. Birthday was yesterday. I think you guys called out. It's kind of fun. I share a birthday with Mark Gronowski, so that was kind of a fun fact that we learned.
And Jared DePriest.
Yeah, there you go.
I missed that.
Yeah, it's his birthday too.
Yeah, but I was trumped for any sort of whatever I want to do for my birthday type thing from the two girls, the 3 and the 2-year-old, and my wife, who we decided to go down to the Omaha, Lincoln area, visit some family and friends. Obviously, we lived down there for 4 years before this last year, so good weekend to get down there and do that. I did win on not going to the pumpkin patch down there. I've already done that once. I wasn't going to go again. But we tailgated kind of around Lincoln. Didn't go to the game. I won that one too. I said, let's just go watch it at a bar, i.e. then we can watch the Jacks game actually as well, which worked out really well. I knew just kind of the place to go that would have enough TVs to do both. So it was a good weekend, kind of a lot of running around, church in Omaha, and then hit the road and just got back not long ago. So kind of a run around weekend for me.
Yeah, so it goes. So, yeah, a lot of man, there's some cool football.
Yeah, I was
going to
ask you.
What a fun college football.
What was your craziest thing that happened for you, Dallas, or what was your highlight of this football weekend?
My highlight.
I know you were watching a bunch of it. So.
Yeah, man. Can I pick two?
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I mean, one.
Podfather's not here. We don't have to have.
Okay,
rules.
guy.
Like Outback.
I tell you what. The two things. One, I don't even know if I'm a fair weather Gophers fan, but when they're winning, it's fun, and I enjoy that. So having them knock off USC, I did, no joke, I turned to Hudson before the last drive and I said, because anybody that didn't watch it, and I have no idea how many people listening did, but the Gophers ended up beating USC, and it came down to the last drive, and they had this they went for it to go up. They were they had the ball in the 1 inch line. The Gophers did with 2 minutes and change left. They went for it, barely made it in, so they went up by a touchdown instead of a field goal, which I would not have done. But then when USC had the ball with a little over 2 minutes left, I turned to Hudson and I said, Coy Parrish touchdown. And Coy Parrish was a 4-star, best player in the state of Minnesota last year. So he's a true freshman starting for the Gophers, just a freak athlete. Or I said interception. And anyway, so that was how the game ended, was USC threw a pick to him in the end zone. And that's how it ended. So that was cool. And then the other one that I just loved all day was watching the goalpost march its way across across Nashville to the river. God, what a cool thing watching Vandy take down Bama like that.
Yeah, it sucks that that one of our South Dakota Ties coaches had to lose that game, and I know there's a lot of pressure. Being the head coach of that program has to be. But what a game. I did see that, in other South Dakota football news, the South Dakota School of Mines had an 89-yard punt.
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That's crazy. I know that, our college football sickos tweeted that out. So go check that out on Twitter if you'd like to watch that.
Well, and a good call. You can't forget Clark Lee, head coach of Vandy.
Yep. Right.
Linebacker coach. So that's kind of fun. I agree with you. Kind of not cool for DeBoer in that regard, in that South Dakota tie, but really cool for Coach Lee. I loved him. He was a great guy.
How about you, Jake? Do you have a highlight a football highlight from the weekend other than the Jacks?
Yeah, definitely the Vanderbilt game. I kind of, it's just been fun to watch him. Obviously, he was at UCLA. He was at Notre Dame. He's kind of bounced around, and like I said, I was the freshman linebacker with knocked knees, taking bad steps, and Jimmy Rogers yelling at me, and they were putting us on the short bus. It was like we were the guys, the other freshman linebacker. So it's just fun. He's kind of got this foundational mentorship to me. Coach Lee does. He probably won't even remember who we are, but so it's just been fun to watch him. And so that game, I think I saw a stat in the last how many games they've scored 3 points against Alabama combined, and then they scored 40. So just kind of a cool thing to see that program trend upward.
And it wasn't even like a fluky game. They just beat them.
They played well, yeah.
Yeah, they played extremely well, and and when Bama had to get a stop in the fourth quarter, they couldn't do it. When Vandy needed to move the ball in the fourth quarter, they just did it, and it was not complicated. There was no trick plays. It was just, hey, we're going to run, just a basic offense and stop us, and Bama couldn't somehow. So no, that was fun. Otherwise, I don't know, a lot of upsets and reminders of why college football is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what a great game the Jacks had too. They go down to Cedar Falls, go into the UD Dome, historically a place that gives us some fits. And the game started off looking like it could have been the case. They went and got the ball, got a 3-and-out right away. And then, UNI came out firing. They had, an 11-yard pass or 11-yard run, followed by another run. And then after that, the wheels sure fell off for them. They ended up with a fumble there. They had 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, a block with a scoop and score on a punt. The defense had a day. And, I'd also like to point out at this point that we have a show sponsor for all A-Team shows this year is Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. I know the Curter Burger is back. Go get yourself a giant cheese curd on top of a butter burger. It's gonna be fantastic. I've never had one. Jake, have you had one?
I have not.
I
touched that
gotta
yet.
I gotta do one. Hopefully, when we go up for Hobo Day, we can hit Culver's, get a Curter Burger. If not before the game, then after. I gotta try that. I'm excited. Dallas, have you ever had one of them or?
Oh, I am the one that brought it to everyone's attention, so yes.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
He actually created it. He's the one that created it.
I would never take credit for that sort of. No.
Yeah, I couldn't remember who brought it up. I'm surprised it wasn't Brendan, but I guess I knew it wasn't. Yeah. So anyway, Mark looked really good in the passing game. Yeah. Wow. We certainly had a great day. Tell me this, Dallas. I got a question for you. Who do you think led the yards per carry average?
Whoa, yards per carry average, man. I wish I would have remembered. I looked at this morning, but I can't even cheat because I don't remember.
Well, it's gonna be my guy, right?
Kirby. I was gonna say, I feel like
it's got to be. Kirby had the one long run because obviously Angels was a screen pass. His
was
long
a screen pass.
Got to be
right.
Got to be Kirby, who had way more carries than I thought by the time that was done. Yep.
He had 8 for 45 yards and an average of 5.6. Amar, got his touches as well. They're spreading the ball around a little bit. Amar had 10 carries for 43. So he averaged right at 4, basically. And Angel had a couple carries too. He had 6 for 31. We were talking about the passing game. He brought up that awesome screen pass and how well that worked. We just knew you had to just know that when Angel got the ball there, he was going to be electric. And the way he tight roped it down the sidelines, that was a heck of a catch. I think that went for 58 yards. Was it? That was quite a catch. And Mark, like I said, did real well this week. He had 16 passes. 22 attempts. He was 16 of 22. That's what I was trying to say, for 223. Had 3 touchdowns on his birthday. And I think that's kind of the theme, is the guys that were having the birthdays were having a day, because Jared DePriest, man, he had six tackles and 4 solo, 2 assists. One was 2 of them were tackle for loss and another sack. So that guy was relentless all day. What I loved about him is just watching him continue to pursue guys, and that's how he got his sack, right? He came from behind and tackled that dude. So that was a heck of a game. Just my thoughts on a couple things there. Jake, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's really cool to sit here in this position now and say it's a good day to be a Jackrabbit. I mean, that feels good. I think, obviously after improvement week, we've said this from the start for this whole year. There's been a lot of conversation about, the game and really how we dominated and played so well. I just take away how well coached we are. I think that is something that I don't want to say we overlook it. I think people know it, but it's like when you come off of an improvement week like that, and that those coaches are working the little details, they're working turnovers, they're working, some of those punching out the balls, like they're doing drills like that. Jim even referenced that post game. And so I think just the fact that we did so well off big plays. I mean, fumble recoveries off QE pressures, interceptions for TDs, block punts for TDs. I mean, special teams stepping up to that, sack fumbles. It really kind of all came together in all 3 phases. And I think that's a testament that when you get an improvement week and you just hit a home run, I mean, that's credit to the players. Obviously we got great recruits, but through the last couple of years, but the coaches, I just think that we're just a very well-coached team, which again, when you get into December, that's going to be something to really lean our hat on.
Yeah, agreed. Exceptionally well coached. That came through a handful of times, and it was so weird though watching a game. Matt might have called this out in Rants and Raves, that it wasn't as close as the 41-3 score. I forget if it was Matt that said that or somebody did.
It was.
But man, that was just a complete demolition. And just, I mean, not that their fans were ever particularly in it, but just the air got let out of that dome. everyone was on their just the sideline. Everybody was, just kind of on their heels or sitting back and just shocked at what was going on. And when you can see a team execute so well in all three phases, yeah, it absolutely is a testament to the coaching staff. Jake, you reminded me of something that I was wondering, that if I ever had a legitimate press pass and was able to ask questions, I would like to know for improvement week, and we're all conditioned to understand this, from Stig to Jimmy, that, in that bye week, you're not prepping for an opponent, you're working on getting better. But I would like to know what that actually means. Clearly you're not, every position coach isn't going back and go, well, let's just do the drills we did the first day of camp. I mean, there are specific things, right, that they're diving into that they've seen off of those first few weeks on film. And I'm just curious how, what that approach looks like. Because the obvious one was press conference. Zim asked about, hey, did you work on the passing game? And Jimmy, of course, said, well, we work passing every day. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? So
Right.
I don't know. I would just love a little bit more insight to know, hey, how do they define that and what do they work on? But it clearly showed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's I think, again, experience that, to your point, it's probably not the same day drills that you're, bringing freshmen in and figuring out footwork type things like you're doing in fall camp. But there is an element of that I recall. And again, I think Jimmy probably has a very similar approach, where you're going back to the basics, similar to what was like fall camp. Like that bye week does feel a little bit like fall camp again. Because your point, you're not focused, in Indy and team. You do some individual drills, and you go do a couple periods of team where you're one-on-ones, offense versus defense. And, it's a lot of times when you're doing that, you're kind of having in the back of your mind, hey, we're playing Youngstown, we're playing NDSU, whatever it is. But when you're in that improvement week, it's back to kind of the basics of, like I said, feeling a little bit like fall camp. And I would assume, if there are things that you're not getting a good transition pass rush, you're going to do a ton of transition pass rush stuff that you've learned in the first 4 weeks. Like you're going to work on those types of things in that improvement week, kind of like a fall camp period. But it also gives you, in some regard, I do recall 2 weeks to prepare for that opponent. I mean, it's not like they're completely forgetting about UNI. I bet you for the 2 weeks, there was definitely a lot of different work with scouties and different things with UNI looks, both sides of the ball. So, yeah, I mean, it is a little bit back to the basics mixed with a little extra prep for whoever you're playing. But I remember it did have a fall camp feel during bye week always.
You brought up the D-line there. Let's talk about them a little bit because, Matt's not here. We can just talk D-line this whole time.
Yeah, there you go. All day.
No one can stop us.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah. You're on our team, though.
Yeah, that's
no
true.
kidding.
I am, definitely. Chain gang.
Yep, Team Chain Gang. So, a couple things that jumped out to me, guys. One, the amount of stunting still just shocked me.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what percentage it was. Somebody could go back and break it down. But again, I've never watched a South Dakota State team or many teams at all stunt as much as I've seen, and doing it well, because it isn't just that you're looping around and trading places with guys. They're depending on what's the down and distance, what's going on behind you. There's a lot of different nuances to executing a stunt and how tight you want to be, where you want to end up, where you want to direct somebody if you see a certain look once you get around the corner, different kinds of things. And it just, man, they seem to execute all those extremely well. They're just, guys aren't getting washed laterally. We're getting penetration. It's been awesome to see. And the other thing that jumped out to me, Jake, and I'll let you chime in, is, man, did that depth show through at the end. And I know Matt's talked a bunch, and everybody I think is aware that UNI just does not have a lot of dudes, doesn't have a lot of depth. And oh my goodness, we looked twice as fast as them in the second half. Especially when the third string guys started getting in, they were just exploding out of the blocks.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple theories on that. I was talking about that with some buddies yesterday and today, and I think there is an element right here that we have to recognize. And to answer both of those things, we're stunting a lot plus the depth. I think we're just that freaking good on the D line. I mean, our D line is that athletic to the point that why not? I mean, if they can move like they can, let them stunt.
Remember when that was a question mark this year?
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun to see now because, you said, then the other end of that is we got such good depth that you're getting the second half, and those guys are still keeping up in the same pace and the same level, playing at a high level. there's just some really good athletes there. And again, you never know what the strategy or work is from the coaches in that regard. I don't know. I mean, that's not a question I've asked them, but I think the way I look at it, when you got those guys moving the way they do and the athleticism that they have, like there's just a level of, Kobe Claiborne can just knife through a lot of that stuff without hesitation. Like, why not use him to that level? And look at the Vikings this year, Minnesota Vikings. I mean, their defense has been called out in a lot of ways. Sorry,
Chad. Yeah, we got
Chad.
a Green Bay fan shaking his head here, but
Yeah.
I'm with you.
We got a W today too, so not too
yeah. But I'm just regardless, like there's been a couple of mentions about their defense. Just as like, what are they doing? They're just crazy. I mean, they're all over the field. They're doing so many different looks. They're doing so many different things. I think that's maybe just the way these guys look at it now. Like, man, let's get creative. It's the trend of a new generation of guys with another level of athleticism. Let's get creative and do some different things. And that's what I think our defense is doing to kind of speak to those 2 points.
I know I never played college ball, but I was an offensive lineman. I know that's going to be a surprise to everybody out there. So, big, slow, and fat. But when you have a decent defensive front like that, that's constantly changing it up. When you're sitting down, getting your stance and looking for what's coming, you're keeping your eye out for guy here, who am I going to have to block? And if that's constantly changing, that's going to keep you on your toes at a minimum. It's going to make blocking harder for whatever play you're running, because that guy that was there a second ago just might not be there. And I think that's really shine through in this game anyway, that because what did they have? I think they got I got to look again, but Ty Edwards only had 5.2 yards per carry, and that's pretty decent. But he averaged a lot more than that coming into this game, and their total as a team was only 2.1. So not real good on the rushing, and we were just swarming. Even if the guy that got there initially didn't take him down, that next guy up, they were taking him down, and there's usually a couple guys at that point attacking the ball. So as per normal, like you were saying, our athleticism was showing through on the defense, and that I think shows through really well when we get that kind of swarm tackling, much like we saw at OSU. That was one of the takeaways they had, is they just swarmed the ball every time somebody's downfield. So
yeah, that
was pretty nice.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, this is a fun defense to watch. Again, the fundamentals are fantastic. The effort's fantastic. The depth is I think going to take this defense a long way into the playoffs. Want to bring it back to rants and raves a little bit when we were talking about D-line again here just one more time. And again, those of you that are not familiar with rants and raves, go to JackrabbitIllustrated.com, go to the blog. Matt puts this out every week after the game. I personally read it in the hot tub on Sunday morning. I do that with coffee. It's my
humble brag.
Oh, it's my favorite thing. I've tweeted about this.
I read it before I go to church. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolute favorite thing to do. But he talking D-line, split ends of the spectrum statistically. He said, my podcasting partner Dallas often says that a defensive lineman can play a perfect game and few people will notice, which you guys have heard me talk about that you can play a perfect game at the D-line position, any position, and never hit the stat sheet. It does happen. And two opposite ends of the spectrum there. One, Kobe Claiborne, all over the field, influencing plays. His only stat, I think, was a fumble recovery, but he just showed up, disrupted plays. And then on the flip side of that, let's talk Jared DePriest a little bit. Again, on his birthday, 6 tackles, 2 TFLs, a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. It does not get any better than that for a D-line. Unbelievable.
No, never. Yeah, unbelievable. That about sums up the game. John Colley's talking about, that there was, to put some things in perspective, that when we went on our national championship run two years ago, we had to, get a last second field goal. And Jim Poppin pointed out that we actually had missed it, but they jumped over the center, which was illegal, causing us to get another try. And that's how we ended up winning that game, and thereby keeping the number 1 seed. But, all that said, coming back to the offense, and we're having a little bit of talk about that. I think that's okay. I think it's healthy because even where our offense is, there's still room for improvement. I think our passing game isn't at 100% quite yet. I mean, we get a little bit more efficient there. I don't think that there's anyone to blame other than just, more of the timing, but I think we saw a step forward with that in having the improvement week. And I got to think that that's maybe what they focus a little bit more on improvement week is like those finer details of refining the things that show up after a few games. Um, plus, just the fundamentals like you guys are talking about. I imagine they've got to address some of those things. And, I think there's still room for improvement. I watched NDSU play the game before this, and I don't know about you guys, but we're going to have to play a complete game like we played, only better in order to beat that team. They are firing on all cylinders. They look very seasoned. We've had the no-name defenses of the past where no particular person gets, too many stats. Well, they kind of have a no-name offense, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. It's kind of like the Packers. Sorry, I'm a Packers fan, but like when the Packers really didn't have any studs, nobody was getting the ball all the time. Rodgers was distributing the ball to a whole bunch of, guys that were third rounders and doing so very efficiently. And that's kind of what they're doing up north right now. And so that's something that we're going to have to really keep an eye on and play a best game that we have to in a couple of weeks here. And, this next week coming up versus UNI, I think is another opportunity to increase and get better.
So you touched on the passing game there. I'm curious, Jake, I think we all knew that was going to be an area of emphasis. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, the offense, in my opinion, I think we've mentioned this with Mark that he's, kind of felt like he had some pressure. He was trying to do too much. But there's also the other side of that where I believe, we recognize that we got the reigning player of the year, 2-time national champion. So I think defenses are probably smart to kind of scheme towards him. So I think like we also got to recognize that the first 3-4 games, not saying he played great, but there was probably some elements there that now he's getting a little more confidence. But there's confidence across the board too, like that O-line. The guys ran hard. That was what I kind of really recognized different. Not that they haven't in the past, but man, we played well with like following through with blocks, finishing through the whistle on the offensive side. We talk about our swarm defense a lot on that side of the ball, but with the offense, I mean, you watch some of those big runs like Angel had, and those guys, I mean, they're still alignment downfield blocking to the whistle. And so I think there was just this extra level of confidence that we get to this point where, with the offense, Mark getting a little more confidence back, if you may, the rest of the team kind of gaining that confidence. Like that was really, really good to let plays develop. I mean, you look at some of his plays and even some of those touchdown throws he had. I mean, he had time to sit there and let that play develop.
Yep.
And that's a big thing.
No, agreed. It was great to watch him go through his progression, made some great decisions when he needed to throw it away, when he need he looked good. And honestly, the stat line there for both quarterbacks was what this team needs. This isn't going to be a team where we need Mark to drop back and throw it for, 375 and 5 touchdowns. And we know he's capable of it, but that's not what this team is. And so I think the numbers that he put up might have been inflated a little bit by the screen pass, but in general, again, you don't need to apologize for having a great completion percentage, no picks, and 3 touchdowns. I mean,
Yep.
and again, just making good decisions. And then the number of receivers that he hit, there was nobody hitting 100 yards. He had it spread all over the place. And man, was it nice to see 5 tight ends catch a pass? Question mark? 5, 4?
4. We got Gormley is Ogroski. He's a tight end too. Lofton, right? Or is he a wide receiver?
Dude, that's a good question.
He got his first. He got his first. Matt would know that. He got his first reception. Brenner got one. Gannon got one. Gormley got one. So that's 3 there. Alper's got one too. So that's 4. So if Lofton Ogorski, man, I'm butchering
We
that.
are.
I'm telling you.
Chad is
I
sorry to you and your parents.
I am sorry. I did not look it up. I
No, he's a
know it's
wide.
available on GoJacks.com. I just
No,
haven't.
Lofton. Yeah, no, Lofton's a wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Okay, so I guess that
6'2",
would
200 freshman out of Pride of Coon Rapids, Minnesota,
just
Right,
up the
there you
road
go.
and Chad's
from
new
the
favorite
cities.
player, Lofton.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, sure. I can. I've been a big. We've all been on the Kentrell pre-John
Yeah, that was
train,
cool. Yep.
and man, Mark just delivered such a laser there. It was just
Yep.
on a rope, and that was one of his best throws all day, in my opinion. Um, Pat Whitty asked a little bit about
I,
the 2-minute deal, and why don't you touch on that? How do you feel like
I
we did? What was there at the end there, Dallas?
okay. So actually, I wanted to disagree at the end of the first half. It is really cool, and seriously, guys, this is a big deal to be able to run your 2-minute offense in a scenario where I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it wasn't to win a football game, right?
It was like practice.
To get a chance to practice that and to get down and to get points out of it, like that was I'm not sure. I'm curious, Pat, what you thought was off. And also, I'm going to be honest with you. I was in the car, so I listened to that part on the radio. And I did not go back and like watch the entire thing. It's an entirety. The entire series in its entirety. I've only seen highlights from the first half so far. But again, the results were good, and getting to practice that isn't something that happens every week. So that was cool. And even honestly, the timeouts leading up to getting the ball, right? I mean, the coach Jimmy made very good decisions leading up to that, knowing exactly what he wanted to do, and that was cool.
The
Yeah, I
TV
mean,
broad. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, and I was just going to say the flow that we can able to learn from that, like to your point, being able to do something like this in a kind of a practice scenario, if you may, but like the confidence that builds and like the flow of that. I mean, you guys have seen it. I've seen it my whole life, our whole careers as fans, whether it's SSU, the amount of times that you lose games by mental mistakes towards the end, whether it's 2-minute, you're just not ready, you're not in the right position, there's a lack of confidence, lack of understanding of what's going on. I think that happens more often than not. And so the fact that we have the opportunity to shore that up in a game like that, also coming in next week where you're at home, Hobo Day, big game, because after that, we talked about NDC a little bit. They're firing all cylinders right now, and it's in Fargo. I mean, I don't care if they haven't been selling out or not. That place still sucks to play regardless. And that's going to be tough. And after that, of course, as we know, is USD at home. So we got the opportunity to tighten those things up and gain that confidence with the 2-minute drill, with the defense, with turnovers, with the offense kind of firing in that. I think that's one thing that, looking at the uphill climb, like I said, talking about the coaches, like they're probably leaning on hard right now. Like we got to be perfect going into October 19th. Well, October 12th, sorry. Not overlooking next week, October 12th.
Yeah, we got to keep it 1-0. Sorry, I had my mic muted.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I think what Pat Whitty was really referring to was at the end, we kind of had an opportunity to actually take another shot at the end zone. You wouldn't have saw that if you weren't watching, obviously, but I think it was a personnel swap issue, and I wouldn't doubt that might come up in one of the questions for Jimmy this week. He probably would want that back. It didn't feel like it was perfect, but at the same time, it didn't matter. So it matters in that this was an opportunity to practice it, and maybe somebody wasn't in the right spot, and so that's why it didn't happen. And we can shore that up going forward.
That makes sense. Going through just a couple random notes that I had, it was good to see reading Rants and Raves. Matt and I had a lot of the same observations. D-line showed up. We covered that. Funny. So a couple things on the two different broadcasts. I don't know if anybody else listening right now live listened to the radio broadcast, but that punt block, something confused Tyler. It was a very weird call because you think about how excitable Tyler is, and I mean, I love Tyler. He's fantastic. But there was I didn't know, you couldn't tell what happened. And you think about a punt block for a touchdown is like the most exciting thing in football. And it was just kind of this, oh no, we ran into oh wait, no, maybe we also touched it. Oh, there's a touchdown, was like what it felt like. I'm like, wait, what? We just scored? What happened? So I got to go back and rewatch, and I'm just curious what maybe he saw in that. And then the other thing, man, UNI, that TV broadcast, holy buckets. Oof.
Yeah.
The one guy was unlistenable. I'm sorry. He might be some legend or someone's dad or something, but maybe he just had a bad day. But that was rough. Did anybody else notice that too?
Yeah, it was arguably better than the student broadcast, but I'm not sure how much.
That was more entertaining. I don't know. Ooh.
Yeah, Jim was saying that we did brush the punter, but again, for those that know, that doesn't matter when you hit the ball.
Block it, yeah.
So that I think that's where the confusion was. Probably his angle, and by his I mean Tyler's angle, for the call, and probably having to use
it was more like it was
binoculars or something.
Yeah, no, it was odd enough that I made a note because I couldn't.
Here's what Corey Caraway says: our guys creamed the punter, and that freaked out Tyler. Which yeah,
could have been because it caught him off guard, and then all of a sudden we were in the end zone.
Chris Howard brings up a good point. Always mute the broadcast, sync it with the Varsity app. Way more enjoyable. I can assure you.
No, that was a rookie move on my part, and I do typically do that.
I didn't have the broadcast to begin with, and was listening to Tyler, and that was good. And then I got in right about at the fake punt on the ESPN Plus. So
flipping topics here. Couple of notes on Chase Mason. One, really cool to see him early.
Yeah.
So I hope that is a sign of things to come, and that the coaching staff liked what they saw out of that. And I'm sure, a lot of it's been relatively basic. So I'd assume that they also have some level 2 and level 3 stuff to work into down the road. That maybe they're saving a handful of things for North Dakota State, for South Dakota, for UND, and in the playoffs and things like that. So that was awesome. And then I also had the realization that Chase Mason looks like someone that I don't want to fight. That is a big quarterback. Wow, he's a solid dude. It's nice what he brings to the run game. He supplements what we did with Mark early in his career. And then last couple things that I wanted to touch on here. I don't know what else you guys have. One, Matt called it out, loved the way Graham Goring responded after having a game that I'm sure he wasn't happy with down there in Louisiana, and just coming back, being solid, dependable. Again, the ball was spread around a ton, so nobody, we didn't have any 100-yard receivers, but he just did what he needed to do and was a leader. And again, I hope he feels just great about that, and I'm excited to see what he does the rest of the year. And then last one, a non-field related thing, Matt brought up that I didn't catch. In Rants and Raves, Matt said he loved the sideline energy in the game, and I absolutely noticed that after Matt pointed it out. We talked at Oklahoma State, or after the Oklahoma State game, how down and how weird the sideline looked, and that jumped out to me big time. And this was the complete opposite of that. The guys were energetic. They were engaged. Like, you can just see, the energy and the way that everybody interacts, and that was cool.
Yeah, I think they're getting used to the tablets and how to properly use that and gain an advantage. I know Jimmy talked about that a little bit on his coach's show, I believe it was, and how they weren't going to show just absolutely everything. They were going to highlight certain things and send that to the tablets, and keep it a little more basic so that they weren't spending too much time with their noses in those devices. I would also like to call out Ryan Howlett. Dude, he called it out on our Twitter. He did ace players of the game. Like, he called it.
I get credit for that, right? That's 2 points.
You get credit for that, I guess.
Oh,
the new guy will take credit where he can get it, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. I think I've been wrong. Like, I might have 1 point out of the other game, so we needed it.
Jason Dorman says Terry Allen was the TV announcer that was a former Missouri State head coach, and that was the guy that was really dry, I would say.
And again, extremely knowledable.
I think he's a Hall of Famer at UNI.
No, well, all right, good for him. It at times was tough to listen to. So that was my take. Anything else? We got to cover players of the game here, but any other observations that you guys have?
I was going to say one more thing. I think, and again, Matt called it out in Rants and Raves, but I think it's another thing for everybody to be excited about at this point. You do have this confidence starting to build, this definition of what this team is. getting to this point. And one thing that I think is really cool to see is just how some of those special teams are starting to really step up, like the coverage units. Matt called that out in rants and raves. Coverage units are a great place for guys to step up and make a name for themselves. Young guys wanting to prove themselves for playing time, prove themselves for the future. That's like a great place for that to happen. He calls out Matt Durant's and Dante Johnson from last year, and look kind of what they're doing now. So I think like that's another cool thing to see, like probably even in some way connected to like the sideline from game one to where we are now. Like the confidence is just starting to build within the team. They're starting to kind of understand their mojo a little bit, kind of their personalities and who they are as a group. I think that's just a really fun thing to see going into, again, what's going to be a tough 3-4 weeks here.
No, that's a good call. I don't think that we can emphasize enough how cool it was to see a multifaceted win like that and just a complete beatdown. And honestly, the effort and the execution in any one of the three phases could have probably won that game on their own, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we could have had one of the three phases play as well as they did, another one play average, and another one bleep the bed, and we still would have won that game probably pretty handily. So that should be very, very. Actually, Matt's not here. We might. There could be some surprise swear words, folks. We'll do our best.
When
It's
the
not
dad's
promise or
away,
a
the
threat.
kids will play.
So, but yeah, just how reassuring it is to have such a solid win in conference against a team that I don't think is very good. They're not going to win many games. I know that was it coaches poll they were ranked, or I don't remember, but that's not a very good team. But
Right, and they started off the year with promise, but then they went out and played, what was it, Villanova, was it? And they just, they didn't look good, and they haven't really.
They didn't look terrible against Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska wasn't
That's
a terrible
true.
game by them.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
that's why it was surprising to me. But
yep. So, all right. I guess to finish up here with game balls. And I think there's not much argument with who gets the game balls. I would assume we're all in agreement with
Yeah,
Matt's
I think
picks
so.
here. On offense, number 11 on offense, number 1 on our hearts, quarterback Mark Gronowski, 16-22, 223, and 3 touchdowns on his birthday. Defense, we got Mr. Jared DePriest. Ridiculous stats. It's just shocked looking at these here
Dude.
from a defensive tackle. 6 tackles, 2 of them TFLs, 1 sack, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. My God, buddy, happy birthday.
Yeah. Let's see more of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. Wow. And then special teams, I also wondered, after you have a punt block for a touchdown, do you pick the blocker or the guy that scores? And Matt picked both, and that's fair. So Cullen
That is
McShane,
fair.
yep, Noah Thompson, awesome play. Congratulations, even though you befuddled Tyler Merriam and then me listening in the car trying to figure out what was going on.
And let's also give an honorable mention to Hunter Dussman, who just keeps being the journeyman out there. 3 punts, 48-yard average along a 51. That dude is just, he's a sniper. He's killing them. And what a weapon,
It is. Yeah, honestly, we should do a segment sometime and just break down special teams a bit more. Because, I got the cat on the desk here again, everybody. My apologies.
Keep your kid.
She's all black too, so she always just scares the bejesus out of me. Just comes out of nowhere.
Cue the Prince music. Sorry.
But I mean, you think about special teams this year and the last couple of years, like we just don't think or talk about them unless there's these giant, special, flashy plays. And that means that there are so many dudes doing their jobs. We don't talk about snapping. We don't talk about holding. We don't talk about kicking. Like, all of that stuff is just done to near perfection over and over. And I just appreciate it, everybody, because it's a very important phase.
I feel like something else that we didn't really touch on that we kind of touched on in past games is that, we were a little, I don't know what the right word is here, but we were questioning maybe a little bit the calling, the offensive play calling. And we didn't have any of that where anyone really was like, well, why did we choose that in this down in situation in this game? So maybe that improved over improvement week too, which is great to see because, again, if we improve every week, we're going to be really, really salty come the end of the season.
Yep, that's a good point. All right, So let's put that one behind us. We're going to talk Hobo Day now. But before we do that, who's this brought to us by?
Jake.
Cubbies, yes, yes. So you can't really have Hobo Days without thinking of Cubbies, right? I mean, that's Cubbies is synonymous with SCSU in a lot of ways. Great supporter for everything that South Dakota State does, and I think the opportunity to lean in on that with Cubbies this weekend. You got obviously the parade, big game. I think the opportunity to just enjoy that and have that experience. You have to stop by Cubbies for that. Obviously, the rooftop is going to be probably one of the last nice Saturdays. Hopefully not, but you might be looking at one of the last nice Saturdays get on the rooftop. So again, a big shout out to Cubbies, and I appreciate their sponsorship and what they do. And again, just being a huge part of South Dakota State sports.
Thank you, Cubbies.
Thank you, Cubbies, indeed. Kind of hoping I can make it out this weekend. I doubt it though. It's October. It's work time for me. So opponent is the Youngstown State Penguins. My research has told me Youngstown is indeed not a state. Beyond that, let's get into what we know about the team a little bit. Really underperforming, and that is putting it lightly. This is a team that really a lot of their fan base thought they were going to make some noise coming into this year, and they just didn't in any way, shape, or form. They've had some disappointing losses. They're 2-4 on the season. They came in, they played a good Villanova team close. They lost just lost by 7 to Villanova at Villanova. So that was, I know that they wanted to win the game, but to me that was probably expected. That's a tough draw. Then you beat Valpo, lost to Duquesne.
Yeah,
28-25. What the hell, guys? That was the one. That was at that point, week 3 was the biggest head scratcher that I think of the year. And I still don't have a clue what happened in that one, but that is brutal. And then they turn around and they get thumped by Pitt. Does anybody know if Pitt's any good? But Pitt hung 73 points on them. I don't care who you're playing. That's brutal. And then take another L to Missouri State, 38-31. And then turn around last week and only beat the Sycamores. And I would have, I don't remember if I said it. Well, it wouldn't have been the pod because I was traveling last week. If I said it on Twitter or just texted you guys, I would have put money that YSU was going to easily cover when they beat Indiana State, and they did not. They only won by 7, and Indiana State is terrible. So I don't know what's going on in Youngstown. They've kind of been an up and down team. They always seem to play the Jacks tough, but they have not had a good start to the year here.
Yeah, I think they've pretty much been ass all season, and I don't know that we can see that changing. I sure hope not. They do have a lot of talented guys that they brought in, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be a sum of all parts. And I think we do win this one handedly. I'd like to see us get some more people involved and get some opportunities to get some more on-field practice reps, if you will. I hope that we can control the game that much. I see that happening, hopefully by half.
Yeah. I think the other call out is, we're at the position at this point in a game like this where, it's a big deal to make sure that we're going out of this one with a lot of confidence, but also injury free. I think that's going to be something for a game like this. There's a lot of extra noise, a lot of excitement, even from the players. Don't get me wrong, you get excited for Hobo Day. Obviously it's always big. There's lots more stuff happening. And so sometimes that can kind of, put you into a different position that maybe you're doing something different or trying a little bit harder, or whatever it might be. I don't know, but it's just like, that's where we just got to be smart. We got to come out of this game not beating ourselves, if you may. And I think that'll be a really good test, where we're standing as a group after this Saturday.
Yeah, you definitely can't get caught up in the happenings of Hobo days, or you'll get caught on the field. We've seen that a time or two when we've played. UNI is usually who catches us
Yeah.
on that deal.
Yeah.
But Youngstown, I think, has once too. It's a Valley opponent. No matter what, they're still going to have the ability to beat you, and you can't just overlook them. But I sure hope that we continue to make strides, continue to get better. And if we do that, then I think we're taking care of business for sure in this one. And there's no real challenge. I'd love to see us get better at the minutia, so to speak.
Yeah, this might be something where I don't know. I mean, I know the coaching staff and the players aren't going to be overlooking them as
Nope.
fans sitting in our basements. I think we can take this approach safely though. But I'd like, yeah, I just, it'd be good to see the offense come out explosive. See all the phases click. I'd like to see Amar look healthy, look fresh. And break a couple. Add a little bit, get back to just some of his elusiveness, I guess. Maybe see a little bit of that. Just if nothing else, because it's fun, right? Like I enjoy his style of running, and I didn't get to see that here this last week much. And I don't know, defensively, I think maybe some of, if you want to call it overconfidence as a fan, again, what is this defense giving up 2 field goals in the last 4 games or whatever
4
it
games,
is.
yeah.
It just absolutely obnoxious. I don't care who you're playing. I mean, these guys are extremely good, and they'll be ready. Stat wise, so here's where take you behind the scenes of Jackrabbit Illustrated. Matt is fantastic at having stats ready and notes and breaking down opponents, and he's already prepping to do that for his blog here during the week, which you should check out. And you're looking at 3 people who have not done that.
Well, what do you want to know about Youngstown's stats? Because
I'd
I did
like
have
to
them
know.
pulled up, actually.
I mean, just what's let's talk offensively a little bit. Who they bringing to the table?
Oh, which person? I just got the team stats pulled up.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So yeah, I'm not as prepared as Matt,
Chad.
Well, they just don't seem to really fly off the page. They're scoring 28.3 a game, and their opponents are scoring 33 per game. They get 64 first downs. They're doing a little better through the air, I think, than rushing. And let's see. Yeah, their average rushing is actually pretty good at 5.1 yards per carry. But I don't know. I just, nothing about them has really jumped off the page looking through these stats. That's maybe one of the better stats, actually. The red zone attempts and scores is 16 out of 20. That's not fantastic. Touchdowns is only 13 of those. They have 7 fumbles, 3 that they lost. Time of possession, well, I guess you can win that and still lose the game. Yeah, so I don't know. Let's see who they got here. Let's see individual stats. We got
I've got it up here. Was trying to get,
looks like Bo Brungard is the
that's a quarterback, right?
Yeah, is he?
It is indeed. All right, I'm gonna pretend like I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So Bo Brungard, he's leading. Offense clearly goes through him, leading the team in rushing and passing. So running the ball, he's got 520 yards on 64 attempts. He has started all 6 games for them this year. And then in the passing game, 95 for 145, 6 picks and 6 touchdowns. And I don't know. I mean, anytime you see a quarterback that runs that effectively, I think any Jackrabbit fan is going to be a little bit twitchy, remembering the days of watching some guys in hideous green uniforms able to run the ball effectively when they were just, kind of average passers. And then, so they've got 2 other rushers with about 300 yards or more. We got Ethan Wright, 71 attempts for about 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then Tyshawn King has, let's see, 69 attempts, 283, and 4 touchdowns as well. And then on the receiving, looks like we've got Max Tomzak. Started all 6 games. Yep, started all 6 games. That name does sound familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's been there for quite a while.
Yep.
His dad is the famous Tom Zach, right? Mike Tom Zach, who's
no
friends
way.
with. Yeah, he's friends with
didn't know
Ray
that.
Gronowski too.
I learned so many things today.
It's been on previous pods, but okay.
So yeah, started at 6 games, 28 receptions, 392, 2 touchdowns, and then second leading receiver, Cyrus T. Started 5 games, played in all 6, 19 receptions, 248, 3 touchdowns for him. It looks like he returns punts also.
Pat Whitty says it's good we got a running quarterback to get a little practice for Cam Miller in a couple weeks. I'd say that's probably fair. That's probably fair.
Good call out.
That is.
Yeah.
Way to focus on the positive, Pat. Appreciate that.
That's what I was going to say. I think our coaches are going to have, they're not going to overlook them. Obviously, I think there's going to be some of those elements that, if that's a running QB or, a situation just that we have some opportunities to work on. Like I do think we're gonna be prepared. Our coaches aren't the type. I think we've proven it now that we're not going to overlook these guys by any means.
So anything
Sorry,
else?
Chad, what were you saying?
I don't recall. I'm sorry.
We're-
I'm in the middle of doing
He was
something.
frantically reading. So,
Yeah.
so Jake, give me your. I guess is there anything else that you specifically want to see out of South Dakota State, whether it's offense, defense, coaching, anything all the way around? Like what do you want to see out of this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the offensive side, again, our defense, I don't know if there's a lot that a guy can really pull on right now. I mean, what did Matt say in the blog, 194 minutes now that we've had without a
there we go.
touchdown. Fascinating. I mean, that's strong. And I think from the offense, it's just like kind of getting to that plateau a little bit. I shouldn't say plateau, but just getting to a little bit more consistency. We have some good guys. We have some guys that stepped up. There's been some goofy things that, like we said, G-Dub was big in the first couple games. Now it seems like it's just hit or miss. And again, it could be defenses. They're stepping in and doing things differently to take him away. But I think that's the consistency with the offense. Like we have one game. Like we can probably say yesterday was that game. Like this start to see that churn 2, 3, 4 times here and get to a rhythm with that offense that's consistent. That would probably be my biggest thing offensively.
That's a good call. Seeing that week after week and being able to feel confident that in any given situation, if we need to run the ball, we can run the ball. If we need to pass the ball, we can pass the ball. To me, beyond that, still want to see those tight ends develop. I think we were all excited. We heard tons of stuff about this deep, very athletic, very large, Matt would call them framey, tight end core that we have. And then seeing more out of them. And he also called out as a rant about them developing in the blocking game a little bit more. Can't say that I watched anything specifically there, but we know that so far this year that's been a point of emphasis to improve.
Early in the game, there was a couple whiffs on a block or two that caused our one of our commenters asked about our running backs being met in the backfield. And I think that was a result of those couple plays actually that we're talking about specifically, where we had some guys try and block and the guys just kind of washed over and got in the backfield. So gotcha. I would like to point out that we also would like to thank Northwestern Mutual for being a great sponsor again this year. They're also doing the Alex's Lemonade Stand Challenge, the Lemon Head Challenge. You take a photo of yourself with lemon on your head, and they will donate $10. Doesn't even cost you anything out of pocket. You just got to tag them on socials with Go Jacks. And yes, great opportunity to raise some money. If you don't have your financial house in order, there's no one better to go see than Northwestern Mutual. Get down to Chris Schenkel and the guys and gals down in Sioux Falls, and they will take care of you and help plan out your future so that you can rest assured that should anything happen to you, your family is good to go, and there's one less thing in life to worry about. and they can also help you figure out your retirement so that when you get to that point in life, it's smooth sailing. So thank you to Northwestern Mutual. Did we want to touch on any of the MVSC games that happened, like perhaps the bout in Fargo that went a little differently than maybe any of us kind of would have guessed?
Yeah,
That went exactly how I guessed.
Yeah, I was maybe a little more high. I'm struggling to, and I would like to think the answer is that I was wrong, but I'm struggling to think if I was just wrong because I voted UND in our USD UND vote a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you guys remember that. Thinking that they'd probably be the ones to pull through, or the other end of that is just NDSU's that good. Which I'm hoping I was just wrong, but I don't think I am. I think NDSU is just that good. You got to give them that respect. So,
yeah, Polisek seems to have them back in the NDSU of old form, as it seems. They're running the ball well. Their quarterbacks doing what NDSU quarterbacks do. The defense is starting to shore up some more. I think we can have success on their defense personally, but yeah, I thought it'd be a little closer game than that, Dallas. That's what I was getting at. I thought it'd be a little closer.
I don't know. I thought they were just going to absolutely beat them down.
Revenge game, yeah.
Revenge game, right? There's just, it's the added emotion in there too. I think they are that much better, but beyond that, I mean, they were going to that game looking for blood. I mean, they've been looking for that for 12 months. No, that was a fun one. What else? I can't, honestly, I was traveling for a good chunk yesterday, so I can't say that I watched any. I did watch the Sock Lukey's and Redbirds a little bit, but otherwise I didn't catch any volleyball.
Yeah, I didn't catch the result of that one, but I do believe Illinois State won that, right? I think that's where that ended up.
Yes, I don't have the score.
Yeah, I think Illinois State won handedly, actually.
And we're once again reminded how absolutely awful Murray State is.
Yeah, not that handedly. They didn't win by that much.
Oof, that one was shocking.
Yeah, and Montana. What's with Montana?
Yeah, Montana. Right? I didn't catch that. Montana lost in overtime to Weber. I picked Montana as a top 3 team this year, so I completely whiffed on that one. My goodness.
I was talking with one of my friends, Tim, about does the Big Sky even get more than one of the top 4 seeds? And I don't know at this point. They probably won't. That was probably their best chance. Although UC Davis still winning games, so kind of hard to count them out.
What is it this weekend's Idaho, Montana State, right? Is that this weekend? Yeah.
That'll be a big one.
Coach so go Jason Vandals, V's up.
Yep, Jason Eck will have them up.
Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one to watch. But again, going back to looking ahead, because we're allowed to do that, the marker game, man, that's setting up to be a hell of a game. That's going to be a good time up there.
Ooh, I'm struggling with the fact that it's opening pheasant weekend, which is like a holiday in my family.
Oh, really?
To not go up there because that's going to be a fun game.
Cool. Want to get in? Anybody got anything else, or you want to get into predictions here, guys?
Yeah, I think we can do predictions. Just want to say, hey, if you ain't got all your gear for showing up on Hobo Day, hit up Jackrabbit Central. They're one of our sponsors, even though not necessarily officially for this show. Just wanted to give them a shout out here for that. They're a good sponsor and they have great gear.
Yeah, go get some stuff. I actually need some new gear this year. I gotta get that done next time I'm in town. All right, so scores. Is anybody gonna write these down? Matt can listen and write down. Hopefully he listens.
I can.
I'll write them down. I'll write them down.
You're gonna write them down, okay?
Right
yeah.
All right. So if you're writing down, I'll go first. I'm gonna go South Dakota State. I think offense continues to roll. 35, and I'm going 35-9. Still no touchdowns.
Who's picking for Matt? Jake, somebody picked for you, so I think you get to pick twice.
Well, there you go.
Scores?
So I'm kind of leaning on a similar approach. I think again, you don't want to peak too early. That's the other thing about a lot of this. But I do think we got to get a good rhythm on the offense, and I think we're starting that. And with the opponent we're dealing with, I do think the offense 42-0. I'm going to go that defense, another shutout. Jimmy's going to have him ready for that. So my pick is 42-0. I don't know if I have any other different justification for Matt. We can go 45-0 just in case. It's like Price is Right.
I think if you look at it, this team's probably not. I don't know. I feel like they're not as good as UNI was, but UNI did not look up to the task yesterday, obviously. I'm going to go with in the 40s too. Dallas, you're being too kind in my opinion with 35-9. I like the 9, but I'm going to go 48. I say we get an extra tud in there.
So to me, not that I don't think that Chase Mason and company, if they get the opportunity, can't score on a few drives, but going into the meat grinder that we're about to hit on our schedule, I would expect we pull guys a little bit early, or at least I would. But hey, I'm not a coach.
Good point. Valid. Very valid.
Yep, that's fair. All right, so now let's go.
Who's your picks? Offense, defense, and special teams.
All right,
Jim Poppin has Angel on offense and Graham Spalding, the law firm, and the score 38-10.
Spalding?
That'd be Matt. Why don't we do that one for Matt? Jim can be Matt.
Yeah, there you go. Jim, you got Matt's score.
There you go.
There we go.
We'll give him.
Although we could give him John Colley's because that's closer to what you picked. John Colley gives him, a couple extra field goals here. I'm doing the no touchdowns thing. That's just all goals.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. Okay, so offense, I'm gonna go Graham Goring. I think he's going to continue, and yep, Graham.
Okay. And then defense.
Defense struggled with this one. I'm gonna go back to the defensive line again. And I'm picking Kobe Claiborne in his first Hobo day.
Nice. Man. That's a quality. You can still pick him. You want to pick him?
Yeah, I'm leaning on Dallas's, the no love for the defense. Like you can have a perfect game and no stats type story there with that guy. Because I think that's the cool thing about that. We had a great player when I played. His name was Mitch Pontrelli. Was all over the field, and weekly he would go into our coach's room as the player of the week from our coaches because he had no loafs and no errors, and which he's just a great player. I mean, that was just the way it was, and so it was always like we give him a hard time. He'd get player of the week because he'd have no loafs, no errors, and then the next week he'd just have a stat line like crazy. I mean, it was the weirdest thing. It happened like 3 or 4 times that he would go from perfect game and then having a huge stat line. So I was going to go Kobe Claiborne, just similar thing. I think that guy's he's balling. He's getting in a groove right now.
And how about for your offensive player, Jake?
Offense, Mark. Nobody's picked that yet, so I'm gonna take it.
All right, and I am gonna pick KTV. I want to see. I want to see a game just like SLU where Voorhees just runs all over him because Angel's already done his damage, right? On defense, I'm going to go Max Balloon. He had a really good game this last game. He forced that one fumble. So, again, guys that aren't showing up on the stat lines necessarily having great games on the defensive line.
And when you end up with facing a mobile quarterback, it's going to be one way or the other. Either your D line is going to play great or they're going to play horrible, and there's really no in between.
We all picked chain gang guys.
Yep. No, I love that. Cool. All right, we're a little bit over here, and I think everyone is anxious to go watch Mason McCormick beat the crap out of some people for the Steelers. And if anybody's not watching Sunday Night Football, Mason has started the last 2 weeks, and that is amazing. Congratulations to him. I don't know. Just as a fan, just feeling proud of what he's done. And I have a feeling that's somebody that you give him a chance to get on the field, that dude ain't getting off the field. Yeah, he's gonna next decade, that guy's gonna be on the field for them. So congratulations.
Can only hope.
Yep, I hope so.
Well, with
All
that,
right.
Jim called her out.
Thanks, Jim. All right, go big, go blue.
Go
Jacks.
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 And Tucker Craft.